Hello and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason, and this week it's a project that has been in the pipeline for a little while. Back in November, Andy Pollard, father of the late Matt, asked me if I could build a custom model of his latest acquisition, a 2014 Porsche Panamera. Without hesitation, I said yes. It's in a Martini livery, and I've got a bit of history with cars in that. I'll need to create a decal set to match it, but on the wheel front, I'm well covered. Look at this set from Creative 164, potentially my best wheel match yet. If you haven't seen it, I built a Mazda MX-5 for Andy's son Matt just under a year ago. I'll leave a link here if you're interested in seeing that. I first got to meet Matt and Andy at the Auto Alex Shedfest car show in early May last year. Unfortunately, it would be the only time I'd meet Matt, as he passed away just 2 weeks later. Andy kept in touch, and he kindly invited me along to join him at the NEC Classic Car Show in November last year. We chatted about me doing this build for him, which I of course didn't have to think twice about. He's a great person all round and has some incredible stories with a car history to match. His 2014 Panamera is a facelifted version of the first generation 4-seat Porsche. I knew that Matchbox made a model of it, so I went straight onto eBay and bought this well-loved example. The fact that it is silver metal flake is a bit deceptive. There was quite a bit of paint damage, plus most of the tampograph print had worn away. The casting was first released by Matchbox in 2011, 2 years before the facelift arrived. There are minor visual differences between them which I'll have to make up for. On the base next to the Porsche Panamera name is 2010, indicating the model year. Production on the Panamera began in 2009. It was Porsche's first production 4 or 5 door car built on its own platform. The Cayenne SUV predated it by 7 years, but this was built on the same platform as Volkswagen's Touareg and later Audi Q7. Porsche had previously dabbled with 4-door luxury Grand Tourers with the Study H50 928 that I talked about in my recent custom 928 video. There was also the 989, which entered development in 1988. This was a result of Porsche bosses wanting a more practical but equally sporty version of the 928. A new platform was built for the 989 along with a new water-cooled V8 engine. Its design by Harm Lagai resembled a 911 despite its engine placement in the front rather than the rear. After Ulrich Betz left Porsche in September 1991, the project lost momentum. This coincided with a slump in 928 sales. With Porsche experiencing low profits between 1989 and 1991, the 989 would be far more risky to build than had previously been anticipated during development. In January 1992, the 989 project halted. The prototype can now be found in the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, having previously been on display at the Porsche Museum in Stuttgart. Prior to then though, rumour had been rife that Porsche had destroyed the prototype. In fact, it had been hidden away by Porsche until it was officially revealed that it was in storage in 2005. The 989 came to prominence again ahead of the launch of the Panamera. Similar to the 989, the Panamera was designed to be a practical luxury Grand Tourer with a similar profile to the 911. In reviews following its 2009 unveiling, it was noted to have similar driving dynamics to the 911. It was favoured over Maserati's Quattroporte 5 and Aston Martin's later Rapide in comparative performance tests. On launch, the Panamera was available in S, 4S and Turbo spec. These utilised Porsche's 4.8 litre V8 engine, which produced 395 horsepower. In the twin-turbocharged turbo, power was up to 493 horsepower. The entry-level Panamera and Panamera 4 came about in 2010. These used the Porsche V8-derived 3.6 litre V6. In 2011, 4 new variants were added. These were a 3 litre diesel V6 with 247 horsepower, the GTS with 424 horsepower, a Turbo S which was uprated to 542 horsepower, and the S Hybrid. This combined a supercharged 3-litre V6 petrol engine with an electric motor to give a combined power output of 375 horsepower. The 4, 4S and GTS models are all-wheel drive, with the rest of the range rear-wheel drive. Porsche unveiled a facelifted Panamera in 2013. Like Andy's, these had slightly different front and rear bumpers to what the Matchbox model has. There was also a new 3-litre twin-turbocharged Panamera S and a new, more powerful e-hybrid model. Some markets received a long wheelbase version of the car, which was only available in 4S, Turbo and Turbo S spec. The second generation Panamera arrived in 2016. It was built on a new platform, Volkswagen Group MSB. The 2018 and 2019 Bentley Continental GT and Flying Spur respectively were also built on the same platform. This was larger all-round than its predecessor and featured tech upgrades. Visually, it wasn't wildly different to the first generation car. However, Porsche did introduce the shooting brake estate Sport Turismo Panamera, which sold alongside the regular liftback type. A third generation would arrive in 2024. Again, not a styling revelation, just with some sharper lines. Speaking of lines, I'm now affixing my custom-made Martini stripes that adorn Andy's Panamera. In hindsight, it's only now recording this voiceover that I realise I could have made life much easier for myself and just bought a white Panamera casting. Matchbox's most recent Panamera was painted white and featured in an Autobahn Express 5-pack in 2022. Oh well, what's done is done. The first 2011 models were painted a dark purple metal flake or green, or a metallic burgundy. The model I found was from 2014 in its metal flake silver. Later in 2018, it could be found in a metal flake dark blue, then a flat red in 2019. 2020 it was a metal flake gunmetal colour, and a polar opposite flat bright yellow the following year, prior to the white model's release. I'm on the home stretch now with Andy's Panamera as it receives a healthy coat of Mr. Hobby Top Coat Gloss. But something wasn't right. No, I wasn't happy with that front Martini decal placement. Oh, and this mess. I'd tried to correct the Sharpie run that it had experienced after I stupidly coated it in clear after the fact. The Sharpies just don't react well to the Mr. Hobby, where with the Tamiya Clear or High Coat Gloss, it's fine. Anyway, back to the drawing board with it. And we find ourselves at reassembly after going through the motions again. This time I've done away with the black window surrounds as I just didn't like them. I also corrected that wonky decal and wisely sharpied after a clear coat on my second try. Here's how the Matchbox Porsche Panamera started. To recreate Andy's Martini-clad car, I needed a starting point, and this pre-loved example felt like a good place to work up from. Not as good as one of the later white cars, mind, but that is the power of hindsight. The worst thing about this model was its scratched and gouged window piece. The rest I could deal with a little more easily, even though it took a couple of attempts on the body. Here is how it turned out. I'm most pleased with the wheel match. Those were ideal for this project and absolutely define it. Despite my paintwork problems, it settled down on my second stab at it and meant that I could correct some of my mistakes. The decal paper I had wasn't the best, unfortunately, but for the most part I think the Martini livery looks great. I hope that Andy likes the result, and I'm sure he'll tell me if it needs more work to match his motor. It's a shame there has been some frustration along the way in building this, meaning it took me far longer than usual to get it finished. If you would like to support the channel, you can pledge anything from £1 per month on Patreon. It might help me find some better decal paper and a better printer. You can also sign up to YouTube memberships where there are a couple of different tiers and other perks available. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.